Hello and welcome to all our viewers on CFO Insights. I am Shelly, a financial technology consultant at Hyperbots, and I'm very excited to have Claudia Mejia here with me, an experienced finance and operations leader with over 15 years in finance, operations, project management, and driving businesses towards efficiency, innovation, and strategic growth. Thank you so much for joining us today, Claudia. Date format variations in financial documents can lead to significant challenges in global operations. Let's delve into this topic with a focus on understanding the issues, best practices, and how AI can help. Could you explain how date formats vary across different financial documents and regions?
Hi, Sherry. Thank you for having me. Yes, this is a subject that is important, especially now with the era of AI. So I think let's explain a little bit how the formats are different across the regions. In the United States, we usually use the format of the month, date, and the year, while in Europe or Latin America is used actually the date, the month, and the year, and in Asia they use year, month, and day. So with all these variations of formats, it's complicated for just people in general that does this document management to put them in through the system. The data entry becomes complicated and is prone for errors. So it's important to make sure that there is standardizations, because these inconsistencies can create issues with accuracy and all kinds of consolidation problems.
And before we move on to the best practices, let's touch upon the obstacles. So, what are the primary challenges that organizations face when dealing with these variations in date formats?
Well, it's the risk of misinterpretation, right? I can interpret it one format as the month, day, year, or vice versa. And this creates not only payment processes issues, it can be contractual issues, legal issues, compliance issues. But that's why the first thing is to understand how we're going to interpret the formats and how we can standardize those formats in a way that the whole company or a global company can actually execute properly.
And from your experience, can you share any real world examples where date format issues cause significant problems?
Yeah, so for example, in a global company, a vendor can, let's say that the vendor is in Europe and they send an invoice to be processed based on the format of July. So they're gonna do the day first, then the month, and then the year. So they're gonna say something like 8/7/2024. We in the United States can misinterpret that day backwards, and we can interpret that as we're gonna pay on August. So that creates late payments, obviously penalties for the payments. Cash management is very important in any company, so we don't want to have that kind of issues, especially when we are consolidating any documents, right? It can be tax forms, invoices, POs. So it's very important for us to make sure that there is a standardization across all the regions.
And to overcome the challenges we just discussed, what best practices do you recommend for managing date format variations in financial documents?
So one standardization that is very well used is the ISO 8601, and the format is basically the year, the month, and the day. This one is widely used and it eliminates mostly that ambiguity that we talk about. Also, it's important probably to create validation rules in the financial systems so it can correct those issues before it kind of these invoices and documents are processed all the way through. I will say that also it's important to train everybody who has contact with document contracts, to train them very well on these formats, and the vendors as well, right? So if we educate the vendors the type of formats that we need to use in the company, then it becomes a standard practice.
And since AI is the future, I have to ask, how do you see AI playing a role in addressing these challenges?
Well, AI can detect and monitor these data formats and can correct them automatically. And so also as the system learns, can also pick up these errors before it's entered into the financial system. I will say it also can correct issues like, for example, when you change the year, sometimes you put the date of 2023 just to say something is December 31st, and then you change the date. So the system can actually learn on these type of issues and correct it automatically. So that's the beauty of AI, that usually just as humans, we miss that.
What are the potential risks if an organization fails to address date format inconsistencies?
Well, like we talk about that, we don't want to miss payments or miss deadlines. This creates issues with the vendors. It's very important to have trust with the vendors. So if we start not being consistent with the dates and the way we basically behave, this just creates issues with compliance. And also, most importantly as well, auditors, when we are audited for the financials, that can create just unnecessary complications and questions that nobody wants to deal with. It is time consuming and doesn't create any value for the company.
Could you share some insights into how AI-driven solutions are currently being used to manage date formats in global financial operations?
So a lot of companies use OCR to capture this data, which is a machine learning technology, right? This technology is very good at capturing this data. But most importantly, the piece that AI becomes very revolutionary is that actually can learn and can predict. So those are the kind of things that we want to make sure to get ahead of the problem and mitigate the issues before they arise. AI can also automatically correct the issues before they go into the ERP system, and that way accuracy, but basically full for the system.
Makes sense. And looking forward, how do you see the role of AI evolving in managing financial document processes, particularly concerning date formats?
AI is going to create a lot of efficiencies with data capture and the way the systems learn and adapt for all these documents. So as much of the companies start adopting AI, you will be able to see the efficiencies. The efficiencies are going to be coming from automation. AI is going to be able to capture the data, correct the data, push the data into the ERP systems without a human intervention. And if you want human intervention, you can have it, but it's just kind of a check that we decide as a company that we want to have. But AI can basically do it end to end without the human intervention. And that's the beauty, that before we were not able to do that because the technology was not there to learn by itself. We have to be careful with AI no matter what, but if the companies make sure that they are all the controls, it's a great technology. And this just leads to efficiency and accuracy.
Thank you so much for being here, Claudia, and for sharing your insights. It's clear from this conversation that addressing date format variations is crucial for maintaining financial accuracy, and that AI offers promising solutions to these challenges.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sherry, for having me. It's always a pleasure.